Hi, this is Madeline Crain, and this is my screencast about formative assessment tools. In this screencast, you're going to hear about why I chose these tools, how they're similar and different, how I can use them in my classroom, and why it's going to be beneficial for students. I chose to explore Plickr and Formative. I chose to explore Plickr because while I've seen other teachers use it in their classroom and I've heard about the benefits, I've never actually explored the tool or used it in my classroom. I also chose to explore Formative, which I initially thought was different than Go Formative. But after clicking the link to the tool and moving around, I realized they're the same thing. So instead, I chose to explore some additional features that I don't use very often. Both Formative and Plickr allow the teacher to get real live results from students. Plickr is a tool that allows students to respond to only multiple choice questions. Students, when they are added to the class, are assigned an individual card that students hold up and the teacher will scan in order to get responses. Formative is a tool that allows students to respond to multiple choice questions, true-false questions, show your work, short answer, your typical essay questions, but also have things like audio response. Both tools have pretty easy setup. They allow you to add classes pretty easily. All you have to do for Plickr is click your class and you can add individual students. You have to add them individually, but with Formative, you can import from Google Classroom or sync Clever Classes if you use that. But the important thing is that Formative and Plickr allow for instant real-time feedback from students and their mastery of the different learning skills or learning targets. But Plickr requires the teacher to use technology. All students need to do is have one of these cards. Formative requires that the students use technology. Plickr must be done live in the classroom, whereas Formative can be done at students' pace. For the formatives, you can do things like Formative allows you to do things like assigning to specific classes. You can schedule and close times. You can return scores instantly or correct answers. You have a lot more options in order to allow students to pace their own learning. Plickr is also free for the most part. There are some cards you can buy on Amazon or you can simply download these for free. For Formative, there is a free version as well as a paid version. The paid version, you're obviously going to get a little bit more of advanced tools, but the free version works just as well. I plan on using Plickr in my classroom in order to review different vocabulary or as an initial assessment after a reading. Oftentimes, I prefer to have students write out responses or justify their answers. But with things like synonyms, or I could do it with simple verb work. Another thing I could do with more difficult questions is to have students brainstorm in groups before showing their answer, because ultimately with Plickers, it's about accuracy and not about speed with things like Kahoot. For formative, I could have students actually record audio responses in preparation for an upcoming speaking test. I can upload a sample audio, and they can then upload an response to that in the form of a simulated conversation. I can embed a Google slide where they're going to be talking in response to a prompt, and they can record their response there. They could also do things like showing their work if I wanted them to demonstrate their comprehension of a topic or a sentence that we read by drawing an answer. Both formative and Plickr are beneficial to students. Both give you instant feedback, and students get instant feedback as well. Using Plickr allows teacher to reteach in the moment. If you realize as you're reviewing answers that the class overall doesn't understand, you can use that moment to reteach and give whole group instruction. Or if you realize there are some students who aren't grasping a concept, you can differentiate later on. The biggest benefit, I think, to Plickr for students is going to be those who don't have access to technology can participate anyway, because all they need is this sheet of paper with their individualized marker. Formative, on the other hand, allows the teacher to comment and give individualized feedback based on student responses. So, for example, if I want to go through with formative, you can go back and leave individual comments. You can also, if you have the paid version, leave comments for multiple students. That way, you don't have to continually rewrite the same response. It also allows teachers to go in and change the settings. That way, if you leave some feedback, if you enables edits after final submission, students will be able to go back and review their answer. That way, students have an opportunity to review and think about their question another time. But both these tools give students feedback and helps them monitor their own learning.